my guest this week, making his second appearance, Mack Wilson. Mack, welcome back to the show.
Finally, Mack has come back to let freedom ring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good to have you.
Man.
Good to have
Good to
you
be
back. Here. Now, like you said, you were in episode 2. We're approaching 50 episodes at this point.
Racking them up.
Yeah. It's been great. It's been going great. When you first came, COVID wasn't really, it was hitting, but we didn't know a lot about it as much as we do now. How you been doing? How you been since your last appearance? How you doing with the pandemic?
Man, I just I've been trying to make the best of it as much as possible. Those first 2-3 months were really tough, where everybody was kind of figuring out what the protocols were, what behaviors were acceptable, what wasn't. And I was just locked up in my condo for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then as things started to wearing the masks, social distancing, I started to see my family maybe once every couple weeks, some of my good friends, stuff like that, but still not really going out in public and stuff. And that's pretty much been it. I haven't really changed a whole lot. I go out maybe a little bit more now than I did in the first few months, but it's been completely all work from home, which has been really good and has given me an opportunity to kind of work on both of my jobs at the same time, both my business and my career. So that's been great too. Just trying to make the most of it, find silver linings in it. That's all we can really do,
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we've been in this, for about 8 months now.
Right.
And we don't know when this is really going to end or when we can go back to an office setting. But you're right, it is trying to make the best out of it.
That's it, man.
Well, it's good to have you back.
Thanks, man. Yeah, good to be here.
And I'm glad that you're well.
Thanks, man. You too.
But we got to talk about election was Tuesday.
Yep.
And in pure 2020 fashion, we don't have results yet. We got a lot of crazy stuff. We kind of want to hit some of the highlights of it. Obviously, Tuesday night didn't look good for Biden. Tuesday night did not.
No, man. No.
What were your thoughts on how, Barstool Sports came out, Dave Portnoy, who is an idiot. He's an idiot. Coming out, almost celebrating the Trump victory.
Right.
Your take on that night, on the actual election night?
Man, for me, I really just tried to keep it real even keel, because when you start to see the states fill in with red or blue, you can think, depending on, who you voted for, one way or another. But you got to look at the fact of how many, because of COVID, how many mail-in ballots there were. And obviously we're still dealing with it now. So I was really not in a mindset to think it was going to be decided that night. I know a lot of people thought it wasn't going to be close. Just from talking to my coworkers and my friends, I was like, this is going to be close. People are very split on this. There are certain issues that people really care about on one side, and then people care about things on the other side, and then you have people that are just completely left or right. So I was like, man, this is going to be close. So it didn't really surprise me, and I think we talked about it, and you were up until 4:30 in the morning. I was up really late watching it too. So, once I knew that things weren't going to be decided and it was kind of stuck as far as the projected winners were concerned in the states, I called it a night. But I had to stay up and watch the two candidates give their speeches, and it was totally worth it for Trump's. We can't be cut. It was great.
His was kind of ridiculous. He declared.
I love that they cut in on him. They're like, he's not giving factual information, so we just want to let everybody know that.
Well, facts don't matter to him, and he's been Twitter's blocking a lot of his tweets and saying these are just not factually accurate, which is important. People, we got to talk about this because I saw some people putting out, and this was on the right. But this could happen for people on the left, but someone was putting out just fake things about Biden, and they're sharing off their Facebook page. People are calling them out. And the person's response was, well, this is my opinion. The person that responded goes, but you don't know the difference between a fact or an opinion.
Right.
Clearly, to say that this your shirt is green, that's factually inaccurate.
Right. Right.
If I were to say I really like your shirt, that's an opinion.
Exactly.
The president has a problem with that, and his followers have a problem with that. You know, facts are facts. So, yeah, that's just a little tangent there. I don't care what side you're on. Know the difference between an opinion and a fact.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you're up there saying that, like, X percentage of the votes are in, and it's completely wrong, like, obviously when they receive the votes, they don't necessarily go through and, like, tabulate them, but they can still have a count on the amount that they've received, especially for the mail-in votes. So to make a comment that, like, you're projecting that you're going to win a particular state when there's millions of votes still outstanding that haven't been counted yet, and you're only up by, like, 1%, like, obviously that race is not settled yet. So, yeah, definitely.
What do you think of his supporters, I believe it was in Michigan, as they kept counting votes, and Trump was I believe was winning or whatever it was? Mm-hmm. They're chanting, "Stop the count." What's like? How does that work? Stop. So these votes shouldn't count? You don't like. Where are they going with this?
I mean, obviously
like,
they're
that crazy.
Like they're scared. You know, like they're like, wait a minute, we have the result we want right now.
Yeah.
Like, and then in the back of their minds, they know that probably based on the district that those other votes were coming from, that they were going to be largely Democratic. Yeah. And so, you know, it's like, hey, let's take our ball and go home. Like, we're up right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Don't know. I guess they don't know how elections work or don't care.
Or don't, I think they just don't care. Yeah. I don't know.
It's pretty... It's pretty crazy to see. I know we're all in different states, but to see people acting like that are like Americans too.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It is wild.
It's some of these Trump supporters, like, how brainwashed can you possibly be?
And you know, it can be on both sides too, because I mean, I woke up on Tuesday and I saw some people that were like really, really upset. Like, I'm not okay. Upset because the race was close.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, it's like, you know, have you been paying attention? Like I said, like, if you get out there, you talk to people across all different walks of life, like, you could tell that this was going to be a very divisive, close election. And so, like, you know, I understand, like, people are friends sometimes with people that have the same values, or if like you're really throw yourself into your career and you work in an environment where people just think the same way all the time, then you can just be like, what do you mean there's other people out there that think like this? And it's like, you know, that there are, like you said, they're out there.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so close. So, like, I feel like it can happen on both sides. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. And I mean, I would say majority of people that I have friends with on both sides are they're not like what we're seeing there.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's just where we live. We're such a purple state.
Yeah.
People seem to behave themselves over this.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've, you know, seen plenty of people that have different political views, but we can still do what we're supposed to do, like get our votes, like not have any kind of, like, you know, black eyes on our community or our state. You know, I've said it over and over again, like, as far as like being in this area, like, from whether it's COVID, you know, this election, like, you can just check them off on and off. And again, like, we're in a really good place in this country, you know?
Yeah.
Where people genuinely, like, for the most part, respect each other, you know? So.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just been wild. And again, this is stuff we're seeing, you know, from other places in the country. But Trump tried to sue Georgia. They already threw that out. I think Pennsylvania was kind of like, come on down and see what we're doing.
Right.
I think Michigan threw it out. I guess he must have a pending one now against Nevada.
Right.
What is he doing? Is this just a Hail Mary desperation type thing?
It just kind of like comes with the territory. I feel like in these close elections, like the side that feels like it's gonna not go in their favor, they start litigating, and that's what's happening. Like he's just gonna try to do anything he can to possibly delay things, reverse things. Probably not likely. I mean, all of these places, I think, were very well prepared for this election, and with COVID going on, I feel like they've been working on their procedure and how things were going to get done, for months. And it seems like, they're the people that that volunteered to count the votes, and their process is very they're like, listen, we're going to make sure that we're doing this the right way because we know we've got eyes on us. So this is what we're doing. Like you said, they're more than happy to come on in, see what we're doing. So, it's probably not going to matter, the lawsuits, but it's just kind of like a table stakes thing that he has to do when he's on the wrong side of the current count.
Well, so. If you want to file a lawsuit, now he said he was going to do this before the election, and right. He's trying to discredit mail-in voting this whole year. So we knew this was coming. But the Unfounded tweets and even his campaign manager, where they're saying, well, they're just finding votes. They're finding these Biden votes.
They set the table for it.
Yeah.
Like weeks and months ago, and it's been all part of their plan. I mean, one thing you can say about Trump's administration and the people he has around him is that they're very calculated and they know what they're doing. For the people that believe in him, he just continues to reinforce that, and then people that are kind of on the fringe, it just because they see that loyalty from his supporters, it can kind of bring people over. And so it's a very calculated plan. Everything is very scripted and Hollywood about it. Yeah, obviously. So it doesn't surprise me in the least. Everything that's been going on, it's just part of the story. So,
do you think some of the people buying into it just lack critical thinking, or they just are so wound up into this Trump? I don't know what you'd say. This cult of Trump almost, that they just don't care.
I think it's part of our society, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think there are some people in our society today, because of social media and things of that nature, that just kind of take things as they come, as they're fed things, they process them and keep moving along with their days and their weeks. And it's just, I feel like that's happening a lot today. And I feel like I said, his team knows that, and they cater to people like that.
Yeah.
And I think both sides do it, but I just feel like some people might be a little bit more susceptible to it, especially if they're not in a very diverse area.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the way that social media is tracked via, GPS positioning, and, how you could type something in, the same question in Google here, or you could type it in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, and you get completely different results based on where you're located. And his people know that, and they use that information to kind of formulate their strategy, and it works on a lot of people.
And people will watch this and say, well, you're very critical. I think this deserves criticism. I'm not saying that Biden was a perfect candidate. I'm not saying Biden is a perfect human being. I'm not saying that Biden supporters, which I don't know how many Biden supporters truly are diehard Biden supporters. I don't think that does. I don't even. There's not many.
Right.
So a lot of things you say, well, I don't care if you support Trump, and I don't care. It was almost like, we got to take this guy because this is over the top absurd.
Exactly.
So, yeah, wild. I mean, which also gets us to Biden gets the most votes of all time.
Right.
Clearly, now we're talking 7 out of the last presidential elections, the Republicans have lost the popular vote.
Right.
What the hell are we doing with if you can't win the popular vote, it really says something on your party.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think, again, it speaks to, like, their strategy and understanding the rules and, like, where they focus their efforts. And it also speaks to when you're watching on Tuesday night and you can see how things break down. I love it when they show the state maps and you can see the counties and the larger cities with more diversity and the colors change, but that's also where a larger percentage of the overall votes for the state are coming in.
Yeah.
So it's just, I feel like we're a very divided country right now. You've been hearing it over and over again. It's obvious based on the votes that have come in. And I think you also see a huge disparity between like more urban areas, cities, and rural areas. Is very different lives that people are living and different views that they have. And it's, just separated right now. So, and I don't know, I don't think that Biden is the guy, to bring us together. But hopefully sometime in the next 4 years, one of the parties will be able to figure out somebody that can do that. So
I think, though, and I was talking to my friend who's a conservative today, I think, though, going towards Biden, we can Trump's a radical. He really is. The stuff he says is pretty out there. We got to move away from that crap. I think I'd say Biden's more of a moderate. I don't think, a lot of things you see said about him, all this free stuff that Biden's not Bernie Sanders.
No.
He's not.
No, he's kind of like middle, like not super liberal, but just very like career politician, like safe, And there were a lot of people I knew that were kind of concerned about his ability to go the 4 years because then having Kamala there in the vice president seat and her being, one of the more liberal people in the Senate. And so I
don't even find her that liberal.
Based on some of the stuff that she's voted on, she's definitely considered that way. But, I mean, and she has things that she's in favor of that I am too.
Yeah.
And it's just, but I know a lot of people have concerns about that. Like, I have family and friends that are very conservative, and I know they voice those concerns. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, I think Biden is going to lock it down.
And we still don't know that.
We don't know for sure, but things are looking better for him, I think, than they are for the president. So we'll just have to see what happens and, over the next couple days and then over the next 4 years.
Now, let's talk. Obviously, I did want to talk about, just briefly, the Nevada man getting on TV as they're trying to make an announcement saying, Biden's trying to steal the election. Does that just go more into this brainwashing thing?
I think so, yeah. It's that's the payoff, right? Like, they want that airtime and that message to get out there to people because it revs people up that are on that side.
Yeah.
And then you see it later with demonstrations and protests, like outside of the buildings. Like, I heard they had to escort people that were counting the votes with armed guards to their cars. And that's all part of that. And that feeds into what they want. They want a little bit of chaos, a little bit of controversy. So that's my take on it. I mean,
it was just a crazy video. And I think it said like something about freedom beers and whatever, just a wild thing.
Crazy, man.
Let's just talk about a little bit more on stuff on a state level. We obviously have in-state elections.
Mm-hmm.
North Dakota man was running for like state rep. He's dead. He died of COVID. Was still on the ballot, and he won. Are people really? And I'm probably guilty of this too. Are people really paying attention to their state level? I mean, we get so hung up on the president.
Right.
But what happens in my state's going to affect me more. Do people just get too hung up on the presidency without really caring about their state elections?
I think so, yeah. I think, unfortunately, we have a lot of information thrown at us every day from all over the place. And I think sometimes it's hard to give the appropriate attention that you should give to all that information. And we see the presidential vote, because of all the media coverage that it gets, as well as the Senate, House, and gubernatorial races and things like that. They're the most high-level visibility races. And so those are the ones that people tend to focus on the most. And, I'll be honest. Like, I looked at the ballot and I was like, I don't know who some of these people are.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. I mean, and you look at New Hampshire, Republicans own it now. They got the House, they got the Senate.
Right.
I think a lot of people, and Sununu wins the governorship. And I didn't vote for him, but I felt like he probably deserved another term after the way he handled COVID.
I agree. And that was one of the reasons why he got my vote, was because of the COVID.
But I think he's a big reason that they won, because they kept talking about Dan Felt, and an income tax.
Right.
And that was kind of genius, because people don't want that here.
Nope.
And I think that was just a slam dunk for the Republicans to take everything.
Right. And he was on Squawk Box, like, basically defending that standpoint last week. Again, like, very orchestrated, very smart strategy, and it obviously paid off for them.
Yeah, and I honestly, to be honest, I didn't see a lot of Dan. I ended up voting for him because it's just what I felt I had to do.
Right.
I never really heard his whole platform, so I admit it, that I voted for a guy that because I couldn't vote for the other one.
Right.
And the thing is, I don't know if he really wanted an income tax, but they ran with that. And that's smart, because we don't want that.
Right. Right. No.
So, and big ups to the governor for going at Massachusetts, for still.
Yeah.
You got New Hampshire, maybe a mass company working in New Hampshire, still taxing them.
Definitely.
So he does seem to care about the people.
I agree.
And Jeanne Shaheen gets back to the Senate. Mm-hmm. Was that a shocker? I don't know much. So. I don't really even, Chris Pappas won as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think she has a good record on, performing for the state, and obviously is very well known in the state. I feel like a lot of those senators across a lot of states, like, they get in there as long as things don't completely go to crap. Like, people are like, oh, yeah, I'm happy with the way things are where I live currently, so we'll just run it back, so...
Yeah, I mean, look at Mitch McConnell. Same thing. Right. I mean, he's going to be there forever. Right. Lindsey Graham.
I mean, Jesse Helms in North Carolina was a senator for decades and was like a blatant racist. So
it's just people see the name they recognize. Right. I mean, I have to admit, all the people that ran against the people already in office, didn't really do a good job, because you didn't really even know who they were. Right. It's going to take us into the fan questions. First one from former guest of the show, Dave Fournier. Mm-hmm. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what the civil unrest will be like regardless of who wins the election. What do you think it's going to look like at this point? I mean,
we've already gotten a little bit of a glimpse. I don't expect anything super out of the ordinary. I think we've already seen little pockets of it. It's been mostly from the Republican side at this point. I do think that if Trump had won, we could have possibly seen more. Yeah. But, being that it's a close race, and I think that, people understand that they're trying to do everything the right way and be transparent about it, I think it's, people are kind of taking a wait-and-see approach. Aside from those few small pockets that we talked about. So I personally don't expect anything else to really happen, especially the way that things sit now. But, I mean, you never know, I guess.
I mean, if he does end up winning, I mean, they had, like, the White House on lockdown. Right. Which I don't remember that being like that. I think Trump has pissed people off. He's pissed a lot of people off. So we'll have to see there.
And I think the events of this past summer have obviously had a huge impact on that. The protests that we saw after George Floyd and subsequent unfortunate incidents that have happened, like, it's, people are fed up. Yeah. And, it led to protests and other things happening. where people on both sides were, I think, just kind of like taking advantage of an opportunity.
You always get that, yeah.
And so it's doesn't make it right, but hopefully there's not going to be anything that really impacts too greatly as far as like our day to day.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Dave also wants to know. Also, do you think that the Patriots what do you think the Patriots need to do to turn around this season?
Finish games.
Yeah.
Like we've had 3 games that were right there that could have been W's that they basically lost on the last drive of the game. Seahawks, they get stopped on the 1.
Yeah.
Broncos, they get stopped on the last drive.
Yeah.
And then against the Bills, obviously, they put together a really good game with nobody playing.
Yeah.
Lots of like key positional players out. And, unfortunately, after a pretty good game, Cam fumbles in the last drive. And that's it, So the offensive line's back, healthy right now. So hopefully they can kind of string some rhythm together and win some games. Their schedule is tough-ish, but not ridiculous. They've still got a lot of divisional games left, so I'm not ready to like completely write them off yet.
If they lose this week to the Jets, I say tank. Just get the picks.
100%. The
Just
Jets are terrible. Like, if they lose, like absolutely, like.
And we can out tank them.
Right. It'll be a tank off.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Dave has one last question. Will he ever stop wearing masks?
I think so, but I don't know if it'll be for another. I'd say like get very friendly with your mask and get one that's comfortable because I don't see. I mean, Fauci said end of 2021, early 2022. So.
I have so many at this point that
right. Buy in bulk.
Yeah. And fashion too.
Right.
Keith Belanger asks, another former guest of the show, what are your thoughts on the push to get rid of some votes that are coming in by absentee mail in voting and using that to sway the election? So, push to get rid of them. I wasn't too aware of that, but
I wonder if he means like if like certain like especially like we were talking about earlier with the Republican side, if they're saying they shouldn't be counted because of that, because of like late arrivals or whatever the case may be. But I think you have to make sure that people that followed the rules and did what they were supposed to do have their voice heard and recorded.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like what we talked about earlier. Like I feel like they should be counted. Obviously this year is like a little different with COVID, and they had different measures set up so that people could do absentee ballots or mail-in ballots or drop-off ballots. And I think that because of the environment we're in, you have to operate that way, and they have to be accepted. So,
you want more people voting,
right? Which happened,
yeah,
like undeniably.
And that's, and I've been saying this a lot. I've said this on the show. It's like I can do my taxes here. That's pretty important,
right?
Can't vote on we can't figure out a safe app so that everybody can just do it.
Right.
Maybe we'll get there. Maybe it won't be in our lifetime, but will the Steelers be the number 1 seed from the AFC, and who wins the Super Bowl this year?
So I'm not sure on the Steelers yet. They're certainly improved and better, and I like their team. They've got a lot of like good skill possession players. Their defense is improved. But I'm still not sure. I mean, I still feel like, we're almost halfway through the season, and they've obviously gone undefeated, but they still have another game against Baltimore. I'm not sure what the rest of their schedule looks like, but I'm going to, like, take a wait-and-see approach on them until probably, like, week 11 or 12 to see how they do.
Yeah.
But they're certainly looking good, and they've got a proven quarterback. If he can stay healthy, Roethlisberger's capable of winning big games and performing when he needs to. And he's got toys to play with. So, they check a lot of boxes. I'll say that.
Who do you got win the Super Bowl?
Oh, man. Do you mean, like, in my heart or in my head?
In your head, in your head.
My head?
I think he's just asking, who do you think wins?
I kind of like, I'd like to see them be a little bit more consistent, but I have a feeling about Seattle this year.
Yeah, I could see Seattle up there.
I mean, Russell Wilson is just really good, and I feel like he doesn't get as much credit for being good as he should. But I'm still not 100% sold on their defense.
Yep.
It's not the Legion of Boom anymore, so I don't know. But I kind of like them in the NFC, I think. And then in the AFC, I have to go with probably the Steelers.
I think the Chiefs would beat them, though.
The Chiefs versus the Steelers, yeah, it's one of the two. And it may come down to the Chiefs, like depending on who gets home field.
Yeah. Which I don't know how much it matters anymore about home field. There's barely anybody there.
True, yeah, because the weather's not going to be much different depending upon Pittsburgh or Kansas City. So, yeah.
Leo Connors asks, was Eddie Van Halen the greatest guitarist of all time? If not, who is? That's a really hard question.
Really, really tough question. I mean, you've got guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix,
Eric Clapton,
even guys that influenced them before, you know, like the blues musicians from the past, like Robert Johnson and Muddy Waters. So it's tough. I definitely would put him up there, though. I'd probably lean on Jimmy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you asked Eddie Van Halen, like, who he thought was the best guitarist in the world, like, aside from himself, if he was on that, like, ego stuff, but, like, if you asked him, then he'd probably say, like, somebody like Jimmy, or that he was really influenced by him. But, I mean, what a fantastic guitarist, though. I mean,
yeah,
I was fortunate enough to see him live one time, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'd lean towards Jimi Hendrix. Never really, I mean, he died so young.
Right.
I think Eric Clapton makes a case.
Yep.
That's a tough one. I'd have to ask my dad's he's a big musician. I'd have to ask him that too.
Definitely.
Question from Mike Bollier. Mike first has some issues with I didn't ask a question he had asked before.
Right.
Some things we want to keep off the show. It wasn't inappropriate, but there's certain things that just I don't want discussed on the show.
Right.
My questions have been silenced in the past. We'll see if this one makes it on air. What can Funko, as in Funko Pops, like the Bret Hart, Michael Myers one we have there?
Somewhat topical. I mean, you got them out on the table. So.
Yeah, we try to decorate here.
Right.
What can Funko do to fix their exclusive release day issues?
Well, I think what you have here is an example, and you see it across all different types of collectibles, right? I have been into shoes in the past. You see the same thing on Nike releases. You see Funko releases. You even are starting to see it with certain hat releases now. Anything that's limited and has a group of people that collect it, if people miss out on it, then what happens to the value of that product if people want it? Exactly, supply and demand. So, and when people can't get an item and they have to buy it on the resale market, it comes along with hype.
Yeah.
And I think that Funko has tapped into the hype train, and it's a conscious decision on their part not to update the website to make it so that it doesn't crash, so that it's bot proof. Because there certainly are ways to do it. There are websites out there that do it. Like if Banksy decides to release artwork on his site, bots can't get that. If they do, they get weeded out. The orders get canceled. So there are ways to do it. And I think Funko is probably at the point where they're using that hype to their advantage and they're making money off of it. And the reselling market and the secondary market kind of fuels all of that within their brand. So I think they're, perfectly happy with, leaving it how it is and maybe making slight adjustments, but it's just kind of a shell game. I've followed it for years with shoes, so.
Wonder how many more, there's a pop for everything almost, Mm-hmm. It's wild. But it's like the Beanie Baby craze, but a little bit cooler, I guess.
Yeah, it's cooler. Yeah. It's they have actual nostalgia that they can tap into with the licenses. I mean, that's something that I'm familiar with the shoes and the jerseys.
Yeah.
Being able to get those licenses for different franchises and roll those out as like nostalgia or connection to people that are really into those franchises, like that's a game changer. And you start off with a couple of big ones, And then the more money you make off of those big ones, you can keep spreading out and going into like more obscure areas, and it just fuels the whole machine. And now they're making like keychains and T-shirts and all sorts of stuff.
Oh,
so
they got everything.
Yeah, they're just like continuing to roll out their product line.
Yeah, it's wild. They really, and I know Mike loves his pops.
Yeah.
So
and I've got a lot too. So
I got a call. The Michael Myers one didn't come in on time. I wish I would have had that for the show during the all through Halloween, but I didn't. We got it now.
Right.
Happy about that. All right. Let's go into sports.
Yes.
Patriots are 2-5.
2-5.
How emotionally do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm not happy about it, obviously. And like depending on the day or the week, I do have my second team that I'll support, or at least another player that I'll support. But it's I take some solace out of the fact that I know they don't have the talent that they've had in years past.
It's true.
And the fact that they've been in these games, like people were talking about Buffalo, I don't know if they're talking about them going to the AFC Championship game, but certainly making the playoffs and maybe winning wild card weekend. And like we could have beaten them last week. Very easy, not easily, but you could make an argument that we were right there for the game, right?
Cam holds on to that ball.
Yeah, they're 10 yards away. Yeah. And obviously Seattle's a good team. You take them right down to the wire. The only game you feel bad about is that San Francisco game. Yeah. I mean, they just completely got their doors blown off, showed no continuity, no sense of urgency, maybe little effort, which is concerning. So I just try to stay level with it. We got the Jets coming up this week. And I think you have some winnable games after that, even out of division. You got the Rams, they're very up and down. You could win that game. Baltimore, you look at it on the surface, you think that's going to be a loss, but who knows? Maybe Belichick can implement a game plan defensively that makes it, Jackson struggle. So
I think a lot of sports analysts too are just there. You're right. They're in these games with a very untalented team, and they're trying to say how much Belichick sucks, and that was all Brady. And it's like you can't decide that after even one season.
Right.
Tom has everything that he wants in the Buccaneers.
Right.
Belichick is also doing some non-Belichick things where he's like, well, we sold out for 3 Super Bowls, and now
sounds kind of excusey.
It doesn't seem like his typical thing, but I think he is frustrated and he is trying to defend himself because the vultures are out.
Right.
I have to say, I also have the Brady jersey as well. And when I thought the Patriots were going to be okay, I was like happy for Tom. Like, go do well. Yeah. Do well with the Bucs.
Right,
good for you. Because we're fine.
Right.
And as now we're 2-5, I'm watching that Giants game. And I'm not rooting against Tom, but I'm like, that was pass interference. The Giants need to get another,
100%.
It's like it's one of those things where it's like it's hard. You want to root for him, but now the Patriots are where they are, it's like that ex-girlfriend you don't want to see her happy because you're miserable.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. I mean, especially now, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way, but I do kind of find myself like rooting for him. Yeah. Because I know that there are people, especially like at the beginning of the year for them, like they came out in that first game against the Saints and even the first couple weeks, and people were like, no way, like this isn't going to happen. But they're starting to hit their stride, and of course now they got AB coming into the fold, so...
he's suiting up this weekend. We were going to talk about that.
Suiting up, man, and I still feel some type of way about that whole situation from last year, because I believe that if he had signed with like the Arizona Cardinals, that some of those issues that got brought up and really publicized probably wouldn't have been as highly publicized as they were because he was a New England Patriot.
It didn't help, but him texting that woman was horrible.
Right, but like I just wonder how quickly that would have gotten out and if it had been a non-Patriots team. But
what do you think of Brady letting him live with him? Would you want Antonio Brown in your house where your family sleeps? I know I wouldn't.
I mean, Not from like no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I mean, all these things this guy has done.
The guy was like completely unhinged like a year ago.
Yeah.
And I have like serious concerns for him, like because after that hit from Perfect, like he's got to have CTE.
Yeah.
Like what? Like he's, he was like I said, he was like unhinged last year.
And I mean, if you follow his Instagram, it's wild.
Yeah. I had to unfollow it because it was like too much for me.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm like, Tom Brady's just going to let this guy live in his home?
I mean,
that's wild.
Tom's a special person.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's probably has a big enough house where it's like he's far away,
Yeah.
But also, there's talk about Jimmy G maybe coming back to the Patriots. Would you want him? I don't think it's going to happen.
I wouldn't want him.
Yeah, I'd rather go with Cam.
Yeah, I'd rather go with Cam. But for right now, I feel like you can at least create kind of like a unique game plan with Cam. You're going to be able to give teams looks that they have to specifically plan for with Cam Newton.
I really like watching Cam Newton play. When the going's good.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he is what he is at this point in his career, right? Like, he's not going to be the most, especially after 20 years of watching Tom Brady be able to throw the football inside of a bucket. Like, he's not that type of quarterback. He throws the ball with a lot of velocity and, sometimes he can get a little inaccurate with it.
Yeah.
So, he's going to be able to run the football for you. He's tough. And obviously he's got a ball security, and not turning the ball over has got to be a huge issue for him moving forward. It's happened too much.
Yeah.
So
well, hopefully they get a win this weekend.
Yeah, man.
Or not this week. I think it's a Monday night game, which sucks.
Monday night against the Jets. Yeah. Prime time, man.
I hate Monday night games. I hate Sunday night games.
I think they play Sunday night the next week too.
Yeah, I like my 1 o'clock Sunday.
Kind of surprising that they got that many primetime.
They should start flex them out. They're 2-5.
I know.
Get them out of there. We don't deserve prime time.
I know.
Red Sox met with Alex Cora in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Do you want to see Alex Cora come back as the manager of the Red Sox? I would.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening.
He served his little 1-year suspension. Bring him back. Unofficial. Allegedly.
And if it was this whole season, right? If it was a shortened season, that doesn't affect it. I guess not, right? Some people were saying on the radio as he came in, oh, he's a cheater, he's this and that. We don't want him back in Boston. I'm like, yeah, I want him back.
Yeah. I think it'd be fine to have him back.
Yeah. All right, a couple more things, and we'll get into blank versus blank. You think Kanye ran a successful campaign? What was your take?
So I'm mostly a Kanye fan.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the last few years, he's done some interesting stuff, but I think musically he's borderline genius level.
Love him musically.
He reminds me of if you're having a conversation, you sit there and you'll be like, yeah, man, that's a good point. I agree with that. And maybe he'll even hit 2-3 points in a row that you're like, yeah, that's a really valid point. But then he says something and you're just, whoa, man, all that good juju that we built, you just completely annihilated it with something that made no sense.
Yeah.
But he's a really interesting character. I don't know if he could ever put together a reasonable campaign, but he just jumped into the race so late. But there were definitely people that voted for him.
60? What did he get? 60,000 votes?
Something like that.
Across the country, I think, or something.
Yeah, I do know that one of my friends was not happy that one of their friends voted for Kanye. He was
really?
not happy about it at all. Yeah.
Kanye is a character, and he says a lot of crazy things. But anyways, I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, I think he was disappointed. I did see a tweet where Jennifer Aniston came out and said, please, people, do the right thing and don't vote for Kanye. It's not funny.
Yeah.
Be responsible. And then Kanye came back at Jennifer Aniston and said Friends wasn't funny, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, my God.
Oh, so, yeah, he's entertaining. That's what he's in the business for.
Yeah, I mean, and he's just crazy.
Yeah.
What are your top 5 Office moments from the show The Office?
Top 5 Office moments. I'll have to see if I can remember them. I wrote them down. So Prison Mike, I think is a classic, funny moment.
You would be the belle of the ball.
The belle of the ball. The Dementors.
Yeah.
You know. I just think that's up there for me, just as a like wacky, kooky Office moment. And one of the things that makes The Office so great is if you've worked in an office, like you could see those situations happening.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we've all probably had that manager or supervisor that's like tries to do something, you know, from a place that you wouldn't normally think of to reach you and like motivate you. And so I think we can all identify with that. I went with kind of like an unusual pick maybe, but I felt like it summed up maybe the way a lot of office workers might feel. And that's Kevin when he spills the chili.
Yeah.
You know, like you have something
so proud
that's
of
like
it,
your signature thing that you work so hard on, and then you just spill it all over the carpet.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, I love that moment too. And then I had arguably the best cold open of all time.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
The fire drill.
Yeah. My ribs hurt.
Amazing.
When I first
still
saw
to
that.
this day when I watch it like crack up, especially the scene with Oscar, Angela, and Bandit the cat.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Like, I only weigh 82 pounds.
Yeah.
And then she throws Bandit up. Save Bandit! And he comes flying down the other. Dude, the chaos and just the first person like camera like to capture everything is just so awesome.
And the rest of the episode just keeps going.
Yeah.
You know, when Dwight's the CPR and he cuts the thing off. He's like, you know.
Amazing.
And then the roast of Michael Scott. That's
Stanley
all one.
having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's all one episode.
Amazing.
You know.
Like, really good stuff. And then my top moment, and I don't think I've given you 5. The fourth one is escaping me at the moment, but my top moment is the dinner party. The whole episode.
That was hilarious.
So good. Capped off with the memorable musical number by Hunter.
Yes.
You took me
By the hand and made me into
that one night.
Yeah, that's it. And then Jim pops it in as they're going
Classic.
home.
Like, what a great way to end the episode. That calm moment of them listening to the song and like reflecting about all the nonsense that they had just seen. Yeah, it's like my favorite episode by far.
And the best part is like, you know, it starts off where Jim and Pam always have an excuse not to hang out.
Right.
And then Michael finally tricks them into it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
What
I remembered my last moment.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
Yeah.
Michael showing up for Dwight's wedding.
Yeah, that has to be there.
Culminating with That's What She Said joke.
Yeah.
I mean, it's appropriate.
Yeah. That was one of those. The last 2 Michael Scott moments that he ever had in the show are like, you get it like a little bit here.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to stay away from the emotional moments because at the end of the day, I love The Office for what it gives you comedically. But
you love those.
I feel like that fit both categories like so perfectly balanced. You know, you're like,
well, the thing is, those characters are just so good that you like.
So good, man. The writing in that show is phenomenal.
Yeah, and you fall in love with those characters.
Yep.
Like when Jim's like telling Michael, you're the best boss I ever had.
Right.
And Mike, and maybe you could tell me about how I'm such a great boss. You know.
Right. Exactly.
Just brilliant show. One of my favorite ones. But we're gonna have a kind of a blank versus blank question before we get into it.
Yeah.
Because this has been the big debate. Going around.
Right.
Would you take Pam Beasley or Karen Filibelli?
I'm going with Beasley all day.
Really?
Yeah, Beasley all day.
See, I don't know. I would have stuck with Karen.
No.
She's more driven. I don't know. I like her better.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, to me, you know, the Jim just, he could never really commit to Karen, you know, because he always had Pam on his mind.
Yeah.
And the connection that they had, like being able to like finish each other's sentences and inside jokes and things like that. It's just, he never had that with Karen. The Filipelli. So
I'm going with Filipelli all day. That's just me.
Wow.
All right, that's going to take us into blank versus blank. Obviously, going to give you a word, thing, anything. You got to pick one and tell why.
I'm ready.
Kick it right off. The Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, yeah.
Or Hulk Hogan.
Let me tell you something, brother. I am going to go with, Oh man, dude, that's really hard. Because I'm like in my mind trying to think of like as a kid which one I liked more. I'm gonna go with Hulk Hogan, only because I watched him wrestle, and the night that I watched him wrestle, it was like a very memorable moment. We had one of my friends had a Hulkster "You Suck" sign.
Oh, jeez.
He was like, it was in WCW, and he was coming back from like a injury layoff.
Yeah.
And it was a total tongue-in-cheek like joke, Hulkster, welcome back, you suck.
Yeah.
And this guy in Binghamton, New York, took it very personally.
People love Hogan.
And he ended up breaking my friend's nose after the matches were over. Just sucker punched the guy and like ripped his sign up and ran out of the arena. So just for that, I got to go with Hogan, I guess.
Some crazy wrestling fans, it's a show.
Macho Man was great, though.
And they're both iconic. I mean, obviously Hogan is probably the most iconic of all time, but, Slim Jim was like, you're our guy.
Step into it! Yeah.
Those are some of the best commercials ever.
Best.
All right, here's one now. I don't know if you've even seen these, but I had to throw some just random stuff out there. Just because there's a new Saved by the Bell show.
Yeah.
Did you like now this might not be fair, but original Saved by the Bell or Saved by the Bell the college years?
Original all day.
See, I'm
old enough.
Yeah.
I'm old enough. So like those original characters, like all day for me. Saved by the Bell OG.
I did like it. I did enjoy the college years.
Was that the one where they were like at the resort?
No, they were living in the dorms, and there was that ex-football player who was like in charge of that.
I ever watched that show.
So you probably you look it up.
Easy answer for me.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you can find them on YouTube.
They're rebooting, right?
Yeah, there's a new one. That's why I had to write this in. I saw the trailer for it. I go, I don't even know what the service is, that Peacock or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, the streaming service that they have for NBC.
Oh, it's the NBC? Okay, so I should have put two and two together there.
Yep.
All right, here's one. I hope you saw both these shows growing up. Salute Your Shorts or Hey Dude.
Oh, man. So that was on probably like the time when I was like graduating from Nickelodeon.
Okay. Because Hey Dude came out like the late 80s. And I think
did.
Salute Your Shorts
like
early 90s.
I like never really loved Hey Dude.
Yeah.
It kind of like annoyed me. And then Salute Your Shorts was kind of after my time. So I guess I have to go by Hey Dude just because it's like what I saw. But I'd tell you, I didn't really like the show.
All right, fair enough.
So.
I'd go Salute Your Shorts. I loved it. I'd rewatch them over because they were in syndication forever. Like they did like 2 seasons and then just re-showed those seasons.
My
over
favorite
and over.
show in the early '90s was Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls.
Just watching them.
Yeah, that's all I did.
Andrew Yang or Bernie Sanders?
Ooh, man, I kind of like Andrew Yang.
I like him. You know what? I look back and I said, I wish I voted for Yang. I wish I got more behind him.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see where he goes from here.
I think he's going to be in the if Biden officially wins.
Yep.
I think Yang is going to be in the administration.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I'm interested to see like where his career goes, and Bernie I like Bernie in some instances, and he's certainly a character.
Yeah.
Very memorable guy. So.
And Andrew Yang, one of his targets, because I forget the role that he might have in the administration, is going after Vince McMahon and his treatment of wrestlers.
Wow.
And the pay and the insurance and everything else. So
I mean, they deserve it, man. Like they deserve to have that looked at. So
I think I became a bigger Andrew Yang fan when I realized he was a wrestling fan. So.
Yeah, definitely. Off the top rope.
Big Baby Davis or Nate Robinson?
Ooh, man. Fun fact, I was actually at Game 4 of the 2010 NBA Finals Shrek and Donkey game. So a very appropriate question. I'm gonna go with Big Baby Davis because of just how absurd he could be at times. Like the game against Portland where KG made him cry on the bench.
Oh yeah.
Was awesome.
We called him Big Baby for a reason.
And there was one episode where they went like behind the scenes with the Celtics the year they won the championship, and he ordered room service and he ordered like pancakes and pasta for room service. And I was just like, wow, that's a pretty gangster move. Like, so yeah, Big Baby for me.
All right, well then the next question is, because this was their nicknames, Shrek or Donkey from the Shrek movies?
So I've got to go. I mean, I think I got to go Donkey on that though.
Eddie Murphy.
Right. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. I love Mike Myers too, but Donkey is hilarious in those movies.
And I love when Michael Scott does, I'm a donkey.
Another great Office moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We got a little bit of time. I have two more. Brian Hoyer or Jared Stidham if you had to start one.
Stidham.
Get Hoyer off this
team. Dude,
team.
I don't even know how he's on a team anymore. Yeah. He's terrible.
He's
like, and even when he was good, he was like average.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least throw Stidham out there. Like, maybe he could connect on like some deep bombs and stuff, and it'll be somewhat interesting. But I really felt going into the season, I was like, dude, I don't want to see Hoyer at all. Throw Stidham out there. Let's see what happens. But when they signed Cam, I was like, you know what? At least this season will be entertaining. And it kind of has been.
Yeah, I mean, even when they're losing, I look forward to watching every week.
Right.
You know,
right.
Which the Patriots are just part of my like on the weekend. That's what I want to do during football season.
Yeah,
that's
leave me alone. Let me watch them. Yeah.
Hardest question: blank versus blank. My two brothers, Bobby Bollier or Mike Bollier.
Oh man. Whew. This is tough. This is real tough. I'm going to go with Mike because I think he has a better pop collection.
Fair enough.
That's the only reason, though.
I think he does have a huge collection.
Other than that, they're neck and neck.
Fair enough. Well, Mac, I appreciate you coming back on the show.
Of course, man.
A lot of fun today. But everybody, continue to wear your masks. Behave yourselves on the Merrimack Forum. See a lot of negativity on there, and it's kind of gets, you're like, just, be nice to each other.
Be respectful, man.
And keep your heads up. And until next week, let freedom ring.